right, good morning. We're a little after the hour. I had my Oura ring on the charger and I was trying to get my data for this morning, but also there was a question about my Oura ring, so I wanted to make sure I had that all zoomed up. What I do is I put it on airplane mode, and you have to stick it on the charger to get your data from the night before, or to turn it back off or on, back airplane mode off, I guess I should say. I'm going to do actually right now. I'm going to just speak to that for just a quick second. The reason why that's important, this just came at my conference last month in Boise. I was meeting with a fellow colleague, and she was reminding us that we need to put these on airplane mode throughout the day. And I have an injury on my right hand, and I was thinking, God, is that why it's taking so long for this injury to heal? The injury occurred during my dead hang. So anyhow, welcome to day 5 of the Summer Sleep Challenge with Coach Vic. Thank you all for being here. For any of those who have joined, been watching along on Zoom, on the replays, or in the Facebook group. That Facebook group is live, and in the final email, you're going to get another link to join, because a lot of people didn't join, or maybe you're not on Facebook. I think I got a lot of signups by way of Instagram. So that's fine. You'll still have that content. Instagram doesn't have anything like groups like this. You just would have to follow along that way. So, but those videos are going to live there as long as I want them to. And likewise, I'll have these recordings that if you miss something, you ever want to down the road say, hey, I was on your sleep challenge, but what did you say about XYZ? I can either reshare the video or answer your question, whichever. But so again, thank you for being here. Today is going to be a little bit about Q&A, a little bit about a recap. We're going to announce a winner for the person who has engaged the most. The beauty of technology today with my marketing system that I use to promote and actually send out these emails, so it helps automate things for me. As a solopreneur, I currently don't have a virtual or an assistant, but that could be something an assistant would help with, but this makes life a lot easier. But what it also does is it tells me when you engage in the emails that you actually, it was in your inbox and you opened it, clicked it open, and then it ultimately clicked on a link like to watch the replay. So I can attach points to what you do. I know, super spotty, but you know that's the world today. And I don't use this information for anything other than to provide, the content here as well as value here. So I want someone who is most interested in what I'm doing and giving and offering to you for free. I want that person to be rewarded, and it's a good reward. I hope that they take advantage of it, and I will enjoy working with them. So the first question, well, let's just do a quick brief review. Day 1, we got started talking about a morning routine. You have this resource, you'll have it forever. Day 2, we talked about the evening routine and the sleep prep checklist. Again, resources you have forever. Make a folder, you can refer back to them, because here's the thing. Our bodies are energetic beings, and our health is dynamic. It will undulate depending on how we treat our bodies. And we want to, of course, treat them well. But if we fall off the wagon or have a little too much recreation, I don't like to call it cheating, I like to call it recreation, that's okay, because actually that's life. Let me look over here, what's happening over here. There we are, okay. And I encourage it, because I'm going to review the rock balance, because I had a question about that. one of the things on there, one of the rocks represents our thinking and our thoughts. And I believe sometimes when people enter into a new program for their health, even if though they asked to be there, they thought they wanted to be there, but it's kind of hard. I mean, making change is hard, right? And they might put these negative thoughts in about the new plan. And if we can maintain a positive outlook, I usually always start with a goal for the person, and then everything we do feeds that goal. That's usually the best way to go. And most people will never stay the path if they don't have a goal to start with. That's what I found to be the most critical thing. So I just wanted to, I don't know, give you a little idea of who I am. I mean, well, let's finish here. Day 3, we talked about the hormone dance, the importance of our hormone, the balance between cortisol and melatonin. And yesterday we discussed a little bit more about that, but also how nutrition it affects our sleep. And nutrition, hydration and nutrition are two things that when I address with my clients, I get them, that's how I get them tuning into their body. We need to be able to listen to the signals our body gives and know to make a change before we go too far down that bio battery, like where our symptoms are very chronic ones. And now that's taking a toll on our health, because again, it's not what you did yesterday. It's what you've been doing for 10, 20, and 30 years. So I empower people to heal by creating the right environment. This is our actual environment in the body, out the body, our emotions, our biological systems, our nutrition, and also the physical body movement. All of these things are encompassed and they're represented on that rock balance. I teach that our bodies are forever giving and adapting to what we do, good or bad, but that we also have this unlimited capacity to heal. That's the beauty. We have cell turnover, cell regeneration that is happening every day, every second in our body. I mean, the only thing that really doesn't regenerate, at least as far as I know right now with science, is our brain. But every organ system, you have new skin in a couple, 2 to 4 weeks. A liver in as little as 5 months can grow back after any kind of liver damage, or if you get a transplant, it grows within your body. I mean, the human body is amazing. And I don't fault anybody for a lifestyle that maybe has created insults on the body, because unfortunately, mainstream media doesn't attach a lifestyle. They just, mainstream media is talking about, it's whoever the paid advertiser will be. And that's the pharmaceutical drugs these days, unfortunately. And there's probably a pill for every ill. And that ill, those symptoms for that ill might be eliminated immediately by that pill. But until you get to the underlying cause, you will not create vitality in your life. And that, by way of these 6 foundation health principles, and we can go further. And if it's beyond the scope of what I can do, I have resources for that for my clients. But until we get to that, we will never regain health and vitality or reclaim it. So you have your 3 great resources. There's videos. Save the emails in a folder on your desktop and watch them. Save them on your phone. Maybe some of you are watching tape 5 right now, and it's 2 months from when I actually aired this, and that's fine. I hope this content has been valuable to you. And so let's move on. Okay. The first question I had was about my Aura ring. And I'm going to look peek over here. I don't see any live bodies over there. No questions here in the chat, but the Aura ring is one of many wearables that you can do to it'll track your sleep, but it also tracks things that, well, that sleep helps, heart rate variability and things like that. We're going to talk about, I have slides to kind of go into that detail. The Oura Ring, the reason why I selected that is because it has the least amount, well, it has that airplane mode, and it's still, even if you're out of Wi-Fi and you don't take it out of airplane mode, it's until the ring needs to be charged, it will record your body temperature, your breath rate, and during your sleep, and it's got activity things now, and they keep adding to it. So it's the kind of thing that you could collect the data in maybe a year's period of time. I'd say go through every season, and then you'll have that information on how your body responds. But I have continued to wear it because they're coming out with new stuff all the time, like chronotype, which is kind of like attached to DNA. I mean, I don't have all the information about chronotype, but that's a recent thing here, and it shows what, based on your chronotype, how close you are to the circadian rhythm, the normal circadian clock, and that shows up every day. It determines that as long as you've worn it long enough, and it gets an idea of what your what your body system does, your normal patterns of sleep. That doesn't mean you can't change that, but it might take a while for the body to say, hey, her HRV's been up. She's been going to bed earlier. She's getting 8 hours, not just 6 to 7. And over the course of some time, it will recalculate what your baseline is. And this is good to know. Any client who wears it, and I mentioned it once in one of my emails about a client who was wearing it and seeing how turning off the TV and the overhead lights and reading a regular book instead of having that stimulation helped with her deep sleep. And it would take, and it was showing it a better HRV, but the pattern had to be for longer, so not just that period of time. So, and I haven't kept track on that with her. All right, so that's the Oura Ring and why I wear it. I wanted to know data. There's some people, I'm not big on gadgets, but there's a lot of people who are. And literally, sometimes you can attract a client by the gadgets. They want to watch their progress, and it's good. And this stuff I can also watch as the health coach and keep track. So the rock balance that I initially showed, it's on the front of your morning and evening routine. The yin and yang here. That literally is a pictorial representation of what I offer in my base camp. I have offered group classes. I don't have any currently running right now, but it's the beginning of every program with a client. I take 6 weeks. Doesn't mean we don't work on other things too, but 6 weeks for my clients to adapt and adopt the 6 foundation health principles. Now, some of those 6 might be dialed in already. Beautiful. But still, understanding why they're important is one of the things I teach. And then we go on from there. Let's say this person is presenting with some condition that has declined their health. I can tell you there hasn't been a time when I start working with someone, maybe they're starting to address those 6 foundational principles to come out of that condition, but they didn't get there by honoring the 6 principles. And I get the biggest pushback sometimes when I think because so many people still do want that pill for the ill. They want the instantaneous thing. And I mean, 6 weeks isn't long enough to adopt these principles and get them right. But I take 2 weeks per every 2 principle. I do it in a balanced way, one from each side, one from yin, one from yang. It's very balanced. You have time to adapt, and then you continue with that while you take on the next 2 and the final 2. But when I work with someone in excess of those 6 weeks, we're constantly addressing those things. There is no harm, no shame, no foul in falling back, because it's creating a new habit. And once you do it long enough and you feel the effects of it, you will not want to go back. Or let's just say if you do, you get right back on track. So on the inside, that's the feminine, inward, anabolic, the tissue restoring side. Sleep sits there, but also nutrition and hydration. I've talked a little bit about both of those. Hydration, if you're drinking tap water with all the chemicals, but you drink enough water, well, you're drinking enough of those chemicals to create an issue. And it may be a short-term issue, unless you've been drinking tap water for 10, 20, 30 years. I have a new client who had a water filter that broke, and she's continuing to drink water, but she's drinking tap. So we're actually meeting today, and we're going to resolve that with a water filter. But she's just someone I started working with. So anyhow, on the other side, things we haven't talked too much about are breathing, thinking, and moving. We talked about breathing with like yogurt, coffee. Left nostril breathing is an excellent way to to calm the nervous system. And square breathing, or even alternating nostril breathing, is a great way to balance the nervous system. That's a good middle of the day thing. Left nostril breathing nighttime, and yogurt, coffee in the morning. So you got 3 great breathing techniques that you can tap into to balance your nervous system. I also mentioned that breathing is part of our part of our autonomic nervous system, but we can also control it by our central nervous system, which is our brain telling our body what to do. And we do that through movement, our physical movement. One of the other principles, moving your body every day, but we have to tell our muscles to move. They don't move without us telling them. The only muscle that does that is the heart. And then, and thinking is like could be just like sleep on the inside. I actually addressed those 2 principles last, because our thoughts could wipe out all the good stuff we're doing. And whether or not it's from a belief system that you don't believe it's working, or fear that comes like we had in the last, not so much in this past year, but the previous two years, with mainstream media telling us all the scary things about this virus. And don't get me started there. It was scary. People got it. And some have long COVID, but long COVID is kind of just like that bio battery being drained. That person will overcome the virus if they don't have pre-existing conditions and they are otherwise supporting their health. And in that way, certain supplements were a benefit to that, to recharging that battery. But thinking, I had to deal a lot with that with my clients over those first couple of years, and even still with the pandemic, the fear behind it, and very difficult, but I try to give hope, because if you knew how many viruses there were, and they were pinpointing one, and I get it, it was causing ill health in a lot of people. But we can't just focus on one with a pill or whatever. We can focus on the whole of our immune system. And that's how I stayed healthy during that. It was everything I did to support my immune system, plus my thoughts. But having that information allowed me to sort of step out of what mainstream media was talking about. I didn't tune into that. And even every day, it's a good thing. I get my news, I find out what's going on in the world, but it doesn't affect my environment and my choices, if that makes sense. And that's where thoughts sit. And thoughts is pretty heavy, pretty deep. And that could take years for someone to turn over a new leaf there. So I'll leave it. I'll put a period on that. So let's take a look at some slides here. Hey, day 5 Q&A, we just did those 2 things. Now some next steps and a winner. Again, I think my computer pushed the snooze alarm too many times this morning. Okay, here we go. By the way, I just turned my camera off for Zoom. I think I'm on over there still. Go back over here. Cheers. I put collagen and ghee in my coffee, and I'm having a cup of coffee this morning. I did my yoga coffee. I drank my water. I made my bed, did all those things, and now I'm celebrating. Okay, day 5. Here we go. I want to talk about sleep stages, which is what my Aura Ring tells me. And I the question specifically kind of was, it was about my Aura Ring, but also, and what it told me. And I've mentioned deep sleep, how, you know, proper sleep actually if you have deep sleep and REM sleep, these are restorative in the body. And that's what's interesting about the Aura Ring, is it really is, it gives you that data. Whoop is another one that's also very low in the EMF. It's not, it has the option of also airplane mode, and there's a Garmin one. I would watch the Apple Watches. They're constantly emitting EMFs onto your subtle body. And I mean, I just have to share this very quick. I have a friend who, I mean, there's more than just that she does, but she suffered a stroke. She's a year younger than me, and earlier this year, and she wears an Apple Watch, and I think she probably sleeps with it, but it's constantly going on. I mean, I know we look cool with these things, but just keep that in mind. If you are suffering and presenting with any condition that's affecting your health, that is the kind of thing, it could be very damaging to the body. I know they're going to say it's safe and it's fine, but I mean, when I talk about the biological systems of the body and environment and things like that, and the things I empower people to understand and honor, we can't continue. It's like kind of a low grade electrical stimulus going onto your body, and the human body was not designed to tolerate that. Or again, the adaptability is going to be, okay, you're doing this to me, I'm going to adapt, but it's going to be a consequence somewhere else down the line. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And that's, you know, why I am cautious about these things, but they do give some good data, especially the person. Well, I mean, the person thinks they're sleeping good, but they're waking up tired. They're not sleeping good. So let's dive in. Deep sleep is the most restorative sleep, and it's the most rejuvenating sleep stage. This typically happens, you know, I talked about physical repair from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and neurological repair from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. The deep sleep usually occurs in the first 4 hours of sleep. Light sleep is the first, it's not as restorative, but it still is restorative, and it helps the body to recover and re-energize. But that's usually where you go. You kind of slip from awake to light sleep into deep sleep, or REM sleep. That's the rapid eye movement. And that's where it's associated with dreaming and memory. Let's see. And memory consolidation and creativity. I've always got more deep sleep than REM sleep. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but in my life, I've never really remembered my dreams that much. It was rare, more rare. But let's just dive into each of these individually. So deep sleep is about 0 to 35% of total sleep. An average is like 15 to 20%, or that is equal to about 1 to 1.5 hours of total sleep time. It can go down with age, but it can be a natural anti-aging hack. During this time, your blood pressure drops, your breath rate stays steady. And the most common time, as I just mentioned, is during the physical repair time of 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Your muscles will grow and repair, your immune system's refreshed, your brain flushes out toxins during this time. And if you do long naps and you have a heavy meal, certain stimulants and screen time 1 to 2 hours before bed, that's going to mess with your deep sleep. And why I believe the 2 hacks for me, well, I'm going to call them hacks just for the sake of that, is intermittent fasting and having about anywhere from a 4 to 6 hour window of fasting before I go to bed, started already. And then also the mouth taping, which what I didn't look at today was I didn't mouth tape last night, but I mouth taped every other night this week. And this time, last night, let's see, I still did pretty good, almost 3 hours of deep sleep, but my REM sleep, 36 minutes. So that's not good. The day before that, my REM sleep was 58 minutes. And then it was more balanced from Tuesday night into Wednesday. So, but I do know that mouth taping for those 4 days could have been just the right thing, because I came off a backpacking trip where I didn't sleep that well. And usually I do, but I had a lot of wake time on one of the nights, and the night, both nights were not great. And so I wanted to reset my circadian rhythm, and that actually is how that works. So I'll have to watch and see that actually continues. But yes, the intermittent fasting for me is super helpful for getting into deep sleep. Then our light sleep, this is usually about half of our total sleep time, and it typically begins a sleep cycle, and it's also very important and also very restorative. We can't, when you see it on your thing, it's going to be the most, and if that's more, it's going to be more than your REM and your deep. But just know that, that's, if there's more of that than awake time, you're good to go. And then REM sleep, this can be anywhere from 5% to 50% of your total sleep. 1.5 hours of total sleep for REM sleep is optimal in healthy adults. There's many nights I don't get that, but I don't consider myself unhealthy. I'm researching and figuring out how that can change. I know they've adaptogens, certain ashwagandha, or some of the mushrooms, you can do mushroom teas before sleep. But again, that's fine. I feel about that like I do about taking melatonin. We don't make the mushrooms in our body, but we make melatonin. And I believe you got to look back at what you did for that day and see how that's affecting your sleep. So this will slightly decrease with age, but it doesn't have to, just like the deep sleep doesn't have to. The most common is in the latter part. So from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., that's your emotional, hormonal, neurological repair. I mentioned there it was, it's tapping into creativity and things like that when you get REM sleep. But getting a full night of sleep and sticking to a regular sleep schedule increases your chances of REM sleep. Probably, maybe, even though I've been doing it for, the longer sleep where I don't have to get up at 4:30 has only been in the last 3 years since the pandemic, and my schedule changed. I don't have to be up and out the door. So that could be why, and that's about this period of time I've been tracking my sleep. But I was losing 1.5 hours, sometimes more, every single day of that latter part. So this could be a big reason why my REM sleep isn't, that's the thing I've thought about. And so I just need to go down this path a little longer to see if that doesn't correct itself out. But if you have alcohol and stimulants in the evening, this is going to decrease your chances of REM sleep. And we want it, it's also very restorative. So the other thing my brain measures is heart rate variability. What is that? HRV. You probably heard it, it's kind of a buzzword thing, but it's the variation between your heartbeats. It's measured in milliseconds. And it's a measure that of stress recovery and adaptation. How I talk about the body is resilient and adapts and all of that. it'll adapt downwards, but it really also relates to the balance in our autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. That's that rock balance. This all ties beautifully in together. And these tracking devices help us communicate with what's going on inside our bodies. Not that vitality wouldn't be the big communicator, because if you feel you can get through your day, you move, you eat well, you fall asleep, you sleep well, you wake up, whatever, you're following a really healthy routine, you have vitality. And you don't need a ring to tell you that. But the data is pretty interesting. And it does help me with a client to help them retrack. So not all tracking devices will measure this, but it's a pretty big thing. That's pretty much all of them will cover that in the near future. It's very personal to each individual, your HRV. You can't compare yours to another. But what I can do is I can look at a client who's, 30, 40, well, say 40, 50 years old, and showing an HRV that's below average for that age on a consistent basis. I have one I can think about right now, and she presents with MS, and that's autoimmune. Her system is constantly bombarded with that challenge, and so that takes a toll on your heart rate variability. And so it can go anywhere from below 20 to over 120, and it does reduce with age. But a high HRV is a sign of general health, good health, and fitness. A lower HRV can be a sign of stress in the body, like overtraining, jet lag, or not adapting to travel. That happens to me when I travel, when I don't get the right sleep environment and things like that, or I'm driving long distances and I get to my location, I eat dinner late, I eat my last meal late. I do travel with my food, so for the most part, I'm getting good food, but it might be later than normal. And I also expend a lot of energy driving a car. And so sometimes it's the same as with working out. You need a recovery day the next day. And sometimes that doesn't always happen when I travel. So I notice my HRV goes down very temporarily, but it's a sign of stress on the body. It's when you have it consistently every day, that person's being boom, 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 bombed with stress every day. And so, like I said, just typically someone with a chronic disease or condition will maintain a lower HRV. So next steps that's just an example of what the ring does, and you can message me if you have any more questions about that, but let's look at some next steps. How can you really get the most out of these 5 days? First of all, make a conscious effort to continue the morning and evening routine for another 2 to 3 weeks and include journaling and see how your sleep improves. Longer than 2 to 3 weeks is also recommended, but I'm being realistic here that someone might stick with it this long, and you could see really positive changes in that period of time. Follow along in the Facebook group and engage. If you're not in there, and you can be in there because you're on Facebook, there'll be a link in your final email or just go back to the other first and second emails. You'll get the link to join. You can record your successes there. I would love to hear from you, or you can email me as well. But great success stories I can share in a future newsletter, and I would love to do that. Even in a reel, something on Instagram or Facebook, and it encourages people to make changes and know that it's possible. So you guys could be, the leaders here. Okay. Also keep following me on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you found me, YouTube. These videos are also going to live on YouTube. If you notice the link in your replay, those are all YouTube videos. So they're over there in my YouTube. It's not a channel I've really promoted, but I'm going to start promoting it more. So, and then also TikTok, again, another one I haven't promoted a bunch, but I have stuff over there too. So follow me there for more healthy tips and look for my monthly newsletter. If you want more help or you want to work with me, I'm going to have a bunch of links in the, not a bunch, but links in the email for how you can reach me. And you can always also just reply to the emails, but schedule a discovery call is one way. And we would do that if, well, let's just move on here. You can join my next free challenge, which is called the Reclaim Vitality Challenge. I did this earlier this year live on Facebook, and I'm doing it starting July 17th live on Instagram. It'll be at 12 noon every day on Instagram. Again, about a 20-30 minute little quick boom. Here's one way to reclaim your vitality. And I'll be sharing, if you're not on Instagram, I'll be sharing replays in a daily email. So if you register for that, you'll be in the funnel to get the replays. And then the other thing I mentioned I think that was the second or third class, that I have my master class, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. The next one is on August 1st because it's always the first Tuesday of the month, but we have 4th of July this month, so I'm taking it off. The link for the discovery call and all these program registrations will be in the final email, but here's my gift to you, because I'm such a giver. Every participant here, minus or excluding the points winner, who we're going to find out next, will receive a $250 discount that can go towards any of my programs. And that's where you can schedule a discovery call to determine what might be the best program for you. And now for the winner. Congratulations to Debbie S. You have a free pass. This is a $925 value to work with me for 6 weeks on my base camp program, which is talking about our internal system of that rock balance and getting you on the road to reclaiming health and vitality. So there'll be separate emails to follow for that, and details on how to get started with that. And I hope you do take advantage of it. And I thank you for your engagement, Debbie S. There were a few that had engagement, but not up to the level she was at. So that's wonderful. And I guess, I'm not seeing any questions over there or here. I think that we're going to wrap it up. And I did mention it was going to go a little bit longer. It's about 7:40 right now. Look for the final email. You might receive a couple of follow-up emails about this challenge. And feel free to engage by replying directly there if you have any questions. All right. Have a wonderful day. I hope you apply these, that this has been super valuable information for you that you'll be able to apply now and in the future, and have a great day. Happy 4th of July. That's coming up. Be safe. Thank you.